I love a lot of the build stuff that comes in Enchanted by Nature, but it's also very specific. Like it kind of takes a certain kind of build for some of that furniture to make sense. So I've been doing a lot of brainstorming, trying to think about ways that I can incorporate this new pack with some of the older Sims packs. And that got me thinking that maybe we could try to build an apothecary shop using businesses and hobbies. So my vision is to have a super quaint and like cluttered shop full of potions and elixirs and books. I want it to be kind of maze-like downstairs, and then upstairs we'll have an apartment for the sim who runs the business. We could also add in a classroom so you could teach classes on the apothecary skill. And I kind of tested out this concept in a gameplay video a couple days ago. I did like an apothecary small business rags to riches sort of challenge, but in that I was mostly trying to sell the elixirs and it was not the most effective thing in the world. Honestly, this whole concept isn't really the biggest moneymaker. It's more just about the vibes. But I'm thinking that we could build it back here on this Greenwood Hamlet residence lot. This Spruce Dairy Grove section is kind of like a small town vibe, and there's like a little bookstore and a little bar. So I think it makes sense to have a little apothecary shop over here. I'll just bulldoze this lot so that we can build here. But before we get too far into the build, I want to tell you a little bit about the sponsor of today's video, Shop Titans. So this is very on theme because Shop Titans is a super fun shop management RPG game. In the game, you can build and decorate your shop, and then you sell gear to heroes. So you'll do things like crafting, managing and expanding your storefront, and also teaming up in guilds and going on quests. And this is actually a really good time to start playing because Shop Titans is releasing their first new champion in 2 years. Malady is a Medusa, so she's cursed with the power to turn those who meet her gaze into stone. And if you send her out with your heroes, you can earn some really powerful rewards. And you can embrace your inner Medusa with the Malady content pass and decorate your shop with Medusa-inspired furniture. There's a couch and a new snake fountain. It also has the Sword of the Sightless and the Slithering Scepter, which is kind of fun to say. So if you're interested in playing, you can download Shop Titans now on Steam, iOS, and Android. I'll have a link for you down below. And you can use the promo code Medusa in-game to get some bonus stuff, like some cool new furniture and also some boosters. So like I said, I'll have that download link down below. Make sure you go and check it out. And thank you to Shop Titans for sponsoring this video. I've been having a lot of fun playing it, so hopefully you do too. And with that, let's get back into the build. Okay, so let's just dive right into the speed build and I'll kind of walk you through what I've built today. I should warn you, this is one of those times where I'm gonna have to ask you to trust the process because I was changing my mind a lot about things like the color scheme and the wallpapers. And there will be parts of this speed build where you're gonna think that it looks a little bit weird, and you'll be right, it does look a little bit weird, but I promise that it all comes together in the end. This build is gonna be like a journey. We're gonna go on a journey together, and this is actually one of my favorite interiors that I've done in a long time in The Sims 4. The exterior I'm not as obsessed with. I don't dislike it, but I just love the inside of this building so much that I was so proud of it and I could not wait to show it to you. I did actually technically build this almost 2 months ago, which I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit here on YouTube. But the thing is, I built so much with this pack when Fairies first came out, and I was like overloading my YouTube channel with Fairies content. I had all these builds I was posting and all this gameplay stuff, and so I kind of wanted to hold back on a few of the things that I had done and like wait until a little bit later to post them. This is one of those things, trying to like mix and match and mix up the content. I also did build this live on my Twitch channel, so if you want to watch the VOD back where I built this live, like the full 3.5 hour, it actually took me like 2 days, so maybe like 6 hours that I spent on this. I post all of my streams on my second channel called lilsimsie, so I'll link that and also my Twitch channel down below in case you want to check them out. But the first thing that we're doing, I kind of started by building the shell. I knew what I wanted the shell to look like. We kind of have a small cottagey style building. There's a tower on one side. Of course, the downstairs is the business, the upstairs is the apartment. And then I just briefly started with some color choices. I knew I wanted to use like the doors and windows from the pack. I wanted to use the wallpapers. You're gonna watch me go back and forth a lot between all wood, all purple, all yellow. I changed my mind a lot with the color theme. And then I was looking at the signs. So I was trying to make it look a little bit more like a business and not like just a house. So I had a couple of signs from Cats and Dogs. There's like that wall sign and the one on the floor. Those are Cats and Dogs that just have decals slot to them. And the decals from Businesses and Hobbies slot to them. So I was trying that, but I don't actually like how the white looks right now. I ended up changing it out for a different swatch, but I've got that little, it's almost like a teacup with some leaves. It's a Businesses and Hobbies decal, like I said, but I feel like it kind of makes sense for an apothecary business. And then as far as the layout of the lot goes, this whole left side is kind of like the main building. And then the right side, we're gonna have a greenhouse so you can grow ingredients to use if you're gonna live here. And there's also a little tiny pond for you as well. I used a lot of Enchanted by Nature debug landscaping. I got a little bit carried away when I was planting everything, but to me, that's like the most fun part of doing these builds. So I took advantage of the opportunity. And also, quick disclaimer, this one is not a limited pack build. I kind of just used whatever, wherever. There's gonna be a lot of kits in here, like the Book Nook kit for stacks of books and everything. So this is not one of those ones where it's like, just enchanted by nature. I have a lot of those here on YouTube, but this is not one of those days. While we're getting this all set up and started, this is probably a good time for a little life update. I like to just pop those into my speed builds sometimes. I've got two for you today. The first is that my birthday was a couple of days ago when you're watching this. My birthday was August 14th. I am recording this before then, but thank you in advance for all of your kind birthday wishes. I really appreciate it. I feel so silly saying that, for me to record this right now before my birthday, being like, thanks for saying happy birthday to me, because it hasn't happened yet. But if you did, thank you so much. And the other big life update is that I'm going to the UK in the next couple of days. If you're new to my channel, you might not know this, but my husband is British. He moved here almost exactly 4 years ago to the US, and his cousin is getting married this week, so we're flying back home to go to the wedding and stuff, which I'm really excited about. I love getting to visit London. It's like my favorite place in the entire world. And it's always fun to go to a wedding. I mean, like, that's always a great time, and we get to see family and stuff, so I'm looking forward to my trip. We don't have a ton of like big stuff, like touristy stuff planned though. Like we're going to the wedding basically, and like staying with family. So that's the main goal of the trip. Anyway, there's a lot more landscape in place now, so I can tell you about that real quick. So there's a mixture of obviously the debug from Enchanted by Nature, but also some of those roof decor items. I was really not sure about what kind of color scheme I wanted to do. At first it was like very red and yellow. Then I was looking at purple. So I kind of just changed my mind a lot about what colors it should end up being. But in the end, we stick with this sort of red and yellow thing, and then I try and have the building wallpapers match that. So I know it looks a little bit weird right now because it has like one wallpaper and the landscaping doesn't match, but it does kind of come together in the end. It's just that this is one of my favorite parts of a build, so I have a tendency to spend a really long time landscaping, even though the rest of the house is completely empty and unfinished. But we do get there, I swear. We're gonna start thinking about wallpaper right now at this point in the build. And this is where I really kind of started to struggle. I felt really good about it until I tried to do this, and then I was like, oh my goodness, I have no idea what I want it to look like. So I tried the yellow, wasn't sure if I liked it with the brown roof and stuff. I tried some stone. I had some like beige accents. I mean, I swear I tried all the things from the whole pack. I even tried red for a little bit, but I ended up getting rid of that. I have this weird thing about the color red. I really don't like it. It stems from me as a child. Why am I telling you this in a video? When I was a kid, I was very anxious and very superstitious almost about things that I made up in my head. And so I convinced myself that red was like blood, and therefore you couldn't look at the color red or else something bad would happen. And I don't feel that way anymore. I have a more logical approach to the color red these days as an adult, but I still harbor a little bit of a dislike for the color red. So like, I don't usually use it in builds. I would never pick like a red thing, you know, I'm not gonna put a red couch probably, just because I just don't really like it. So anyway, I tried red on this house and then I was like, no, can't do it. Something else that I was a little bit frustrated by and a little bit sad about is the greenhouse situation. So I really wanted to use the glass wallpaper from the pack, but the problem with it is that there's no door that matches it. So I found that it works better for like an attached greenhouse, almost more like a sunroom, because then the door can be inside. But when it's a standalone greenhouse and it's got all four walls as glass, I don't really like the glass wall stuff because it just, I don't know, it's hard to put a door because they all look weird. And then I was kind of thinking about trying to use the greenhouse windows from Life and Death, and I have the same problem with those because those are windows, same as the greenhouse kit windows, but because there's no matching door, it's really hard to use it all the way around because no matter what, you have to have a kind of starkly different door to it. So I kind of scrapped both of those ideas and just used the greenhouse kit ones because it's a full set, it's got matching doors and everything. As far as the windows on the rest of the house, these are all from Enchanted by Nature. Something that you might kind of hate is that there's a door on the second floor. It's like a fake balcony door. You can't actually access that little balcony. It's not a real one. It's just decorative, but I liked how the door looked from the exterior, and I'm gonna try and block off the fact that it's floating so you can't really tell when you're inside. That kind of thing happens a lot where there's like Juliet balconies that don't open all the way. You can't actually stand on them, but you can just open the door to get more fresh air. So it's not unrealistic, but it is kind of strange when you know that it's a normal door and it's not actually functional. So ignore that upstairs door, we're gonna make it work. But that's pretty much all of the windows on the outside. We kind of like had it all come together pretty quickly just then, and we're moving back in to start thinking about the floor plan. So down here in the public space, you're gonna walk in the front door and there's gonna be kind of like a little shopping area. We're gonna have some things on display for your Sims to buy, like potions and elixirs and, I don't know, mood potions, that sort of stuff. Just loads and loads of bottles of things on display in here. Then straight ahead, there's gonna be a classroom with the whiteboard, because I wanna be able to teach classes with the apothecary skill, and it's kind of fun to be able to come here and learn them as well. Like if you were to place this lot, even if you didn't have your Sim own it, it's kind of a cool concept to have a place to go and visit to take the apothecary skill class. So we've got that classroom in the back. The side in the tower kind of becomes like a little sitting area, sitting nook. And then, I don't know, it's very maze-like. It's hard to explain. There's a bathroom in the front. There's like a kitchenette area off to the side. And then we have a little crafting room by the back door. So that's kind of like the generic layout. At this point in the video, I am really struggling to figure out the floor plan. It's a very weird, very tight house. I'm looking at it like, oh my God, how am I gonna fit anything in here? And also like, what furniture am I gonna use? Because I know I wanted to have a functional sales table that you can actually buy and sell stuff off of, because you can't put product on just any table in the game. Like if you're playing with businesses and hobbies specifically, you have to have them on one of the retail tables for Sims to be able to buy them. So you could use whatever decorative table you'd like for decoration, but you can't like click on an object and set it for sale. It has to be on a sale table, then it's for sale. And I just didn't really like any of the sales tables. They're all really modern almost, so it's kind of hard for me to justify the use of them. What I did instead is I put those bookshelves in. So those bookshelves you're seeing right now are actually sales tables from Get to Work, and they have like a deeper shelf at the base that we can put some stuff on, plus some smaller shelves in the middle. So I'm gonna fill those completely with potions and things. Then we have a few smaller pedestals that we're gonna put some things for sale on. Those are actually functional as sales tables too. Plus some shelves. The shelves are just decorative. They're not functional, but that's okay. I think it's nice to have some extra supplement. And then we have things like the apothecary cabinet from Enchanted by Nature. I use that. That's also just decorative. You can't sell things out of it, but it looks like you could. So I've got those. And then we have the fancy cabinets from Realm of Magic. Those also look full of potions, so I used those too. They're, again, just decorative. And then I filled the place to the brim with things like book clutter and like every little bit of clutter I could find, I was putting it inside of this place. This room alone is one of my favorite things that I've built in a long time. I just had the absolute best time doing this. I even discovered some things like those stackable books from the Book Nook kit. They're obviously shelves because you can stack them on top of each other, but you can also stack stuff on top of them, which I kind of forgot. So I can put plants on top of the books, and I thought that was so cool. So I was putting plants and candles on top of book stacks. Maybe that's not smart or safe, but I was doing it anyway, so I've got those everywhere. I have those beautiful leafy curtains from the Blooming Rooms kit. I found some of the things that you can make with the Nature Press item, and I used those inside. Couple of standouts to me, I think, are those Nature Press candles. I love how they look in here. And I also really like this area above the apothecary table. This is like what, in my mind, is where your Sim would do all the crafting of their apothecary things. So it's kind of like their office almost, but it's just open to the rest of the room. And so I really tried to deck it out with things. There's also some really cool dried herbs that are hanging on the wall. Those come from Realm of Magic, so I got to use those. There's like a cow plant head on the wall from my kit. I put that. There's hanging plants. There's like a gnome plant from my kit. I put that too. You can kind of see the vibes and the vision of it coming together now. So I want to take a second to mention some tips for those of you who might want to play in this lot, because there's kind of like two ways that you could use this. You could use it as your own lot and live here and run this business. And if you're gonna do that, I would recommend that you have your Sim join the naturopath career from Enchanted by Nature and also have them register their own small business, and then set the business activities to things like attend classes and lectures, browse and buy items, maybe even like make apothecary elixirs. And then when you work from home, I suggest that you open the business at the same time and you kind of use it as like a supplement to the apothecary career, because it really feels like this is the kind of place that a Sim would come to be treated by your naturopath Sim. But that way you'll also have other Sims coming and going, so it won't feel so repetitive and samey. Like there will be more things happening in your business. And you don't have to do that. You could just live here and not have it be a small business at all. You can just play pretend and just work from home downstairs. Like that makes perfect sense as well. But if you wanted to incorporate other things, that's how I would play on this lot, is I would do both kind of at the same time. Because when you work from home in the naturopath career, you can do it really quickly. You kind of have two options. You can treat patients at home, and that might take you like 4 or 5 hours in game. But sometimes the work from home tasks are like, research this thing on the computer, and it takes you like an hour, you know? And then you have the whole day left where you could be making elixirs, but you could also teach classes on elixir making, and I just think that's kind of cool. And then the other way that I would try and play with it is kind of the opposite. It's more like using this as a community lot. And for that, what I would do is place this off the gallery and then get a sim. You could make a sim, you could just find a sim, you could randomize a sim, whatever. You just need a sim who can run the business. Have them move into this lot that you've placed off the gallery and then real quick set up the business. Again, I would use those same activities like attend classes and lectures, that sort of stuff, and then cheat that sim's apothecary skill to be really high. That's very important. You could even cheat like their natural living skill too if you wanted to, because then if you have your sim come and visit this lot, you can attend those classes instead of teaching them. And I have found that as a very useful tool for building the apothecary skill, because having played with this pack a lot now, I think this skill can be kind of repetitive and a little bit boring. And when you're doing like the aspiration, you need to get the skill up really high really quickly to finish the aspiration stuff. And like, it's kind of annoying to craft like 50 of the same thing, right? But if you take a class or listen to a lecture from the skill, you can build it really fast. It almost feels like you're cheating because the classes are so good. They're like so overpowered. So that could be kind of a good starting point for you to take like one of the classes and just get level 3 in the skill real quick. You could even do that if you didn't want to become a naturopath yourself. Like maybe your goal isn't to max the skill. You just want to be able to make a couple of elixirs to fix your own ailments, which we all know is a whole thing. You could come here, take a class, learn how to do it, maybe harvest some daisies, and then go back home and make them yourself. Anyway, all of that really heavily relies on businesses and hobbies, obviously. You don't have to use that if you don't want to. It's kind of just an example for if you do have that. But I'm gonna get back to the build for a second because we've made a lot of progress with the cluttering. Now I've placed like all the different things and details in here. I've got like apothecary ingredients on shelves. I've got some mismatched chairs over in the sitting room. I'm hanging up some floral lights on the ceiling and on the walls. And then we're finally, hopefully soon, gonna start putting in the wallpaper. I was really dreading the wallpaper. I always do it last because I found that the wallpaper always disappoints me in this game. I am consistently disappointed by it just not quite having what I'm looking for with wallpaper, and so I always save it till the end and then get more sad about it. But I'm doing it now. We've got a mixture of wood and stone and like some pretty floral wallpaper. I also used that adorable unicorn rug from Enchanted by Nature in here, which was kind of a focal point. That was one of the first things that I put down, and it kind of helped determine the color scheme for the entire place, honestly. But I think with that, we're just about done with this main room. I'm kind of making some last minute adjustments and like rearranging some different things. And then we're gonna start moving on to the next room in a second. I was being really picky towards the end of this room, like with making sure the things were in the exact right place. I had the ceiling painted. I was just so excited about it that I wanted it to be good so badly that I was paying like the most fine attention to detail. But the next room we're doing is gonna become that like classroom space. And this one is a good example of what I was talking about with those windows from Life and Death. I use them here because they don't need to have a matching door. It's not like a standalone room. They're just on the side there. Oh gosh, and here I am making a small business. Sometimes the speed builds are all over the place. I'm sorry, but you know this. You are watching a speed build. You've seen one of these before. They're always like this. This was me testing out if it worked. This was me actually checking to see how many of the apothecary tables I needed, because different skill classes require different numbers of objects. Like maybe you need to have 4 easels or just 2 handiness tables. I don't remember the exact numbers, but sometimes they're different. So I wanted to make sure I had the right number of them inside of this room for your Sims to use for the class. I also put some of the house plants in here. I really like how all the plants look in this space. I'm a little bit worried that they're gonna die because one of them is placed not slotted, so you can't actually access it. So I think it might die like of not being watered, but that's okay. You can just replace it, right? It's fine. They're actually technically on a sales table, so you could buy those if you came here and visited the lot. And then something else that I was kind of struggling with a little bit was the whiteboard, because it's so modern looking and it's the only one. There's no other options. There's not like a blackboard or a chalkboard you could use. This is the item that has the functional gameplay that I want this lot to have. So I tried to make it look a little bit more like it belonged in the room. I put some shelves across the top, and then I put loads of decor, like an old sailboat and some candles and some crystals and things like that, just to kind of hopefully make it blend in a little bit better and fit the clutter of the rest of the space. It's still a pretty stark white whiteboard, but hopefully it makes a little bit more sense this way. Oh, then I went through, I added so many more of those books from the Book Nook kit. The Book Nook kit kind of carried this whole build. So I got loads of those around. I even added a few things from Crystal Creations because there's some stuff that almost looks like it might belong in here, like some of the tables and some of the clutter. So I used some of that. I also thought a little bit about maybe trying to hang up some pots and pans above the apothecary tables, but I wasn't sure if it looked weird or not. I just thought maybe like they might need this in the classroom, so I could try to add it in. But that just about covers that whole room. We're gonna move into like the employees only section now. This is like a downstairs kitchen, basically. This is also where the access to the house is from. This room is actually technically completely unnecessary because you don't really need a kitchen space for something like this, but I just kind of wanted to have some sort of pretend employees only access. Plus then I could block it off a little bit and have a separate entrance for the house. I struggled a lot in here too with the window situation because the windows are all small and the tile backsplash is big. So I was kind of having a hard time with where I should put them. I ended up just using it anyway and then covering the hidden parts that are messed up with curtains. So you'll see that in the end. But basically this is just a hallway that has a sink and some storage inside of it. I put some more of those hanging herbs from Realm of Magic in here too, which I really liked. And then we're gonna jump straight upstairs to start decorating the apartment. The apartment kitchen ends up being very similar to the downstairs kitchen, which makes sense. Of course, this one just happens to have a fridge and a stove in it, so it's functional, you can cook here. It's kind of all one room for the living space, so it's gonna have like a couch and a dining table and things like that up here in this area. But there also is a primary bedroom and a kid's bedroom up here, and a really tiny bathroom. I cut out from this speed build the footage of me decorating the bathrooms, but I'll show you in the tour at the end. The bathrooms are really small. No, the bathroom downstairs is very big. The bathroom up here is like 3 tiles wide. It's very little, and it's kind of like a weird L shape. You're gonna see some glimpses of it when I rotate the camera around. This whole upstairs room is a really weird shape, so I had a pretty hard time trying to figure out where to lay it out and like where to put the couch. How is it gonna fit? Can you walk around the space? So this is again a trust the process moment because it's gonna take me a second for it to like come together in the end. I think I actually ended up shrinking the bedroom so that I had extra tile space right there. Yeah, because that way I had a little bit more room for the fireplace and everything, but that's fine. The bedrooms can be small. I really wanted to have a double bed in one of the bedrooms, and it just, the bedrooms are too little really for that, but technically it does still work when it's up against the wall. That's not my preference for it to be against the wall, right? But I did end up just kind of sucking it up and doing it anyway. I've got the mossy fireplace, which is one of those items that I think is kind of hard to use in outside contexts. Like that is a very specific sort of item, but I did use it in here. Oh, and the last thing upstairs, the tower part of the upstairs is gonna have kind of like a little office. We'll get to that in a second. I'm starting with the dining table. I've kind of got this like green and yellow color scheme throughout the whole building, both downstairs and upstairs. I used the yellow polka dot chairs from Cottage Living, which I love. Those are some of my favorite chairs in the entire game. If I were to buy a Sims chair in real life, out of all of them, I would pick those in that exact swatch. It makes me think that I should get some little cushions like that for the chairs I have at my table. I have just like plain black wooden article chairs at my table. I don't have a cushion on the seat at all, but looking at this, I'm like, oh man, that's so cute. Maybe I'll try it. I could make them. Oh my gosh. I'm really into sewing lately for the past, like, I don't know, year, basically. I could make cushion covers at least. I would buy the cushion part, but I could make covers for them. And then it could be however I want it to look. That's actually an interesting idea. Maybe I'll try that as a project in the next few weeks. A little birthday gift to myself or some cushion covers for the chairs at my dining table. But anyway, I love the yellow polka dots. I think they're so cute. I really tried to carry the wallpaper throughout the whole house, both inside and outside. So it's kind of dark and like, I don't know, it's very wooden in here, but it's brightened up by the furniture, hopefully, I think. It's amazing how long this all took considering how small it is. Like, we're still barely even close to being done. We've got the whole outside, all the bedrooms left to finish, but right now we're gonna start trying to think about adding in more plants. I wanted to have a lot of plants everywhere, both like mixed and matched in size on the ground. I wanted floor plants, I wanted them on the shelves. I just wanted plants all over the place because I think it kind of helps to really sell the whole concept. I also put some of the fairy gnomes and like some of the gnome pictures in here. We're gonna do some more candles and things like that too. This little trick that I'm doing with the fireplace, this is kind of hard to explain without showing you real time, but I'll just try and brief overview it if you haven't ever tried this before. Because sometimes when you wanna raise stuff up to place on top of an object, it doesn't slot there. And when you try and raise it up with like the 9 key using move objects, it doesn't go to the right height. It ends up floating or like clipping inside of the shelf. A little trick that you can do is using a really big shelf. So an example of one is like the empty bathroom shelves. There's one that has towels, one that has none. It's a wall shelf. It's got a really deep shelf on the top shelf. You can slot objects to that, put the shelf to the right height, and then move the item off the shelf and kind of like float it, but have it look like it's placing on top of one of the things that it won't slot to. So that's kind of how I decorated this right here because not everything slots onto that fireplace, but I wanted it to. So I was doing a little bit of tricks with like floating objects and then kind of trying to place them on there because that way nothing actually is clipping inside of the shelves. I don't know if that makes any sense trying to explain it like this, but I do that a lot. You'll see me do it even with like the kitchen counter sometimes. And that's a little bit easier because you can just place like a paper towel on the counter, move the counter out of the way, and then place the paper towels floating where they would go if they were slotted to the counter, and then put the counter back. Because otherwise they slot to like the weirdest places because nobody wants to put the paper towels in the middle of the counter, like centered on the counter. That's kind of silly. You want to like shove it off in the corner somewhere. And there are ways to do that. Just you have to be a little bit tricky and use the move objects cheat. But this is like the last part of this main living space upstairs. It's kind of like the office and skill room. I have a desk, a typewriter, and also an easel for you to do painting up here. And then we're going to go back through and find a couple pieces of clutter to put elsewhere. And then lastly, we're going to work on the bedroom. So this is a really tiny bedroom. It's the primary bedroom. You can technically have 3 Sims sleep in here because they can scoot up against the wall, but it's a little bit annoying to have 2 Sims sleep in here because if one of them is still asleep, the one against the wall can't get out and it's a whole thing. But anyway, it's a very tight room, so it had to be done. I wanted to have a double bed, so I use it anyway. We also have just a mirror and like some curtains. It's not a lot going on in here. It's basically like bare bones, bare minimum. The kids' room has a few more things in it, which we'll get to in a second. I think maybe if I were to redo this, I might consider expanding this house back a tile just to make it a little bit bigger, because it would have been fine if I had done that downstairs too. It would just make the classroom a little bit bigger, and that's okay as well. But I had done the landscaping already, and so I didn't want to go back and do that. And perhaps that's a lesson in maybe not doing landscaping first, because then I could have adjusted the floor plan first. Saying like, oh, I can't make the house bigger because I've got some plants is a little bit silly. Like I should have just extended it, but oh well, it's a small house. And now my cat is here. My assistant has come to see how the build is turning out. But this is the kids' room. It's the last room inside. It kind of has like a celestial and blue theme. I used the rug and some decor from the Crystal Creations pack. The bed in there is from Horse Ranch, but I did use the canopy that comes from this pack to go above the bed, so it kind of looks like it's an Enchanted by Nature bed. We also have a bunch of acorns in here. And then I put the dollhouse in front of that door. That's the door I was telling you about earlier that's like floating on the outside. It's not supposed to be a functional door. Let's just pretend that it's a window with some nice woodworking because it looks cuter from the outside like this. And then I blocked it with the dollhouse so that way no one tries to go out there or anything. They wouldn't be able to anyway, but this makes it make a little bit more sense, hopefully. If I just keep telling myself that, maybe I'll believe it. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just getting some last little things. Like I have some of the cute nature press items. I have that freezer bunny, fairy, something plushy in there. We've got a mirror on the wall. It is a really tight space, but it is fully functional. And then we're gonna go back outside and do the greenhouse. This is like maybe one of the actual last things we have to do. I just filled this with those greenhouse items. So basically a lot of the greenhouse kit stuff. I wanted to have a space where you could, okay, her tail's in my mouth. I wanted to have a space where you could put like the daisies you need to craft all the elixirs and, you know, grow those kind of things. I wanted them in here. So there's just a bunch of planter boxes. And I think I might have cut out the very, very end of this speed build where I did the terrain paint, but I will show it to you at the end. We'll do a tour. We'll go back into the game and I'll kind of show you around. I know it can be kind of hard to see when it's sped up like this, so I like to do a tour at the end where I actually show you everything in a little bit more detail. And for the record, I did post this on the gallery. My name is just lilsimsie on the gallery. It does have a lot of packs and it is very expensive. It's going to be a lot of simoleons if you wanted to place it, but you know, cheats are always fun. You can use a little bit of money cheats right here, right? But with that, we are just about done with the full speed build. So let's go pop back into the game and I'll download it and kind of show you around. As a reminder, I built it here on the Greenwood Hamlet residence lot in Innisgreen. If you're looking for it, it's called Apothecary Small Business on the gallery. So I'm gonna place that real quick. I've got like hair in my mouth from the cat. And this is what it looks like when it's done. I did go back in at the end and add some wall decor, like with some vines going up the walls. I kind of like how the tower is two-tone with the stone at the base and the shingles at the top. And this is that sign I was warning you about. I don't know. I did not like how the solid white and black swatches looked, and this one also looks kind of weird, so I don't know. I've been going back and forth a lot on this, but it is what it is. It's done now, so we'll just leave it. There is a mailbox right here so you can get into the house. house. This is the little ticket kiosk. I kind of tried to hide it a little bit, but this is where your Sims would check in if they came to visit the small business. If you want to go into the side, you have to go all the way around back to get into the side yard, but back here there's kind of like a windy little path that takes you to the back door. We have a trash can back here. There's some planter boxes outside, kind of like mismatched different styles and shapes and stuff. And then we have the little greenhouse right here. Same thing, just loads of planter boxes in different styles. I've got this kind of cute little canopy that has some tables under it, and then we have the pond right here as well. I think I cut out the pond from the speed build. It was just so long. So this is what it looks like. This is kind of the whole outside. I'm still kind of unsure about this wood with the black. I don't know about that, but it was the best option with what we had access to. So I left it. And then when you come inside of the building, you're gonna walk up this little front porch right here. And this is the shop part. If you're seeing kind of like this weird line on the ground and wondering what the heck that is, that's actually because of this. It's from the whiteboard. It goes away when you're in live mode. You can only see it in build mode. It's kind of like a guideline of where the things will be affected by the classes. So you have to put the apothecary tables within that big rectangle for them to work for the class. That's all that means. But so it's just a visual guide. It's not like some weird line that I drew on the floor, I promise. But this is what the inside looks like. I had the best time placing this stuff down. We have things like all the different emotion potions. There's like little apothecary clutter. This is the gnome plant I mentioned. I have the cow plant horn that's unlucky. We've got fancy flowers, more apothecary clutter. I put a crow in here. These things are all for sale. This is like the emotion stone, and we have the freezer bunny luck foot. I really had fun doing this part where I was just putting all the different potions and elixirs inside of the shelves. And I've got like apothecary skill books and natural living skill books at the very top. And technically a few of these that are slotted are actually for sale. Some of them are not. These ones are like raised up so they're not for sale, but these all are, so you could buy them. I even tried to add a few things like this. These are like acorns and the lightning root leaves. I put them on here because it kind of looks like you could buy ingredients if you came here, although technically you cannot actually buy them from this lot. Way back this way, this is kind of like the little sitting room I told you about. I used those two mismatched chairs. I have this open wizard book. This is also not for sale. These are all just decorative, but I've got some more ingredients on the shelves right here. I really like how the ingredient collectibles look. I was very pleasantly surprised by like the detail on the collectibles, because sometimes they make little bowls of things and they look really bad. Like think about the food in the game that just looks like a pile of mush. That is a 3D acorn. And like the petals, even the petals look good. Anyway, this is a cabinet. This is just a default cabinet. I didn't even add any clutter to this. This is from Realm of Magic and it's so nice. So I use that. Back here, this is the classroom that I keep talking and yapping about. I think my favorite part are all of these herbs hanging from the wall, but there are 3 apothecary tables so you can teach 3 Sims in here. You could mentor in here. You could come here and just use it if you wanted to instead of buying one for your home a lot, I guess. And then back this way, this is like the office. In my mind, in the story, your Sim will have their customer sit right here while they're talking to them and like treating them and stuff. What actually happens is they're probably gonna stand like right here if you're playing the naturopath career, just like by the front door. But we can pretend that you'll have your patient come in, you have your like elixirs right here, you've got your storage cabinet, you know, so that's the vision in my mind. Through this door is like the employees only access room with the kitchen for more storage. This is kind of what I meant by covering the clipping with the curtains, because you can see the tile is clipping right through the window, but this is actually a decal, not a wallpaper. So it's just, that's all you can do with it because it doesn't go up against the wall. This window is quite small, but I did what I had to do. And then upstairs, no, wait, sorry. Over here, this is the downstairs bathroom. This is like the big bathroom everybody can access. I did put a litter box in here because in my mind, there's like a cat who lives in the shop. So they have their own bathroom. It's a pretty simple bathroom, but it's nice and big. And then upstairs, this is the other bathroom. This is fully functional, mind you, but it's really tight. So we have a little toilet, this shower they can walk across, then we have a sink right here too. This is like the functional family bathroom. I had a hard time with the upstairs floor plan, as you can see, but they do have a balcony with like chess. There's a telescope. It's kind of like a logic balcony, I guess. And then they have their little dining room right here. I have some cute things tucked away on shelves, like the apothecary cabinet and some shelves right here. This plant I keep using is from the Sleek bathroom kit, and it's perfect. So I've got that around here. The kitchen is kind of tucked away back this way. I did the same thing with the windows in the kitchen. They've got their living room and some clutter and a tea set and like some storage right here. This is the office kind of tucked back in this room. The cat has their food bowl. And then we have the primary bedroom. Not a lot going on in here. It's very simple, but it's fully functional. They've got some curtains and some art. And then last we have that kid's bedroom, which is pretty small too, but it also is fully functional. And that's the whole building. that is the entire Apothecary small business. Wow, I have been yapping about this. This video was all over the place, but hopefully you liked just getting to listen to me talk about The Sims for a little bit. And I think on that note, I'm gonna wrap this one up right here. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you also to Shop Titans for sponsoring this video. I've got that ridiculously long flight to the UK coming up, and I think I'm gonna be playing a lot while I'm away. But if you wanna check it out, I'll have the link down below so you can download it. It's available on Steam, iOS, and Android. And you can use that promo code Medusa in game to get some extra cool bonus items. If you're new to my channel and you liked this video and you like Sims builds, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss my next one. And I'm gonna catch you all tomorrow. Okay, bye everybody. I keep saying how much I love this build and the inside of it, but I think it's all just because of those stacks of books from the Book Nook kit. Seriously, I think that made it. The book stack sold the entire place.